What are some common behaviors that many parents engage in, often without realizing it, that negatively impact their children in the long run? Overly protective parenting. Protective parenting can lead to children lacking independence, resilience, and problem-solving skills, as they may not have opportunities to learn from their mistakes or navigate challenges on their own, creating an edge without realizing it. I don't want them to feel the same way I did growing up, writing in my diary at 10 years old that I was tipping the scales at 80 pounds, and if only I was 60 pounds like my classmates, and I would be skinny. A lot of my friends have kids that are older, high school age, whereas mine are still little, and I see how their own words and their own self-esteem directly relate to their kids. Yelling from the stands at Little League games. This includes yelling for them to do something, notably when you're not the coach, and also yelling at the umpires. I experienced the worst second-hand embarrassment watching a mother cuss out an umpire. Also just knowing what that mother was telling to her child on the car ride home. Probably something along the lines about how perfect they are and how terrible umpires are. Just teaching them the worst possible life lessons. One common behavior that many parents don't realize can impact their kids negatively in the long run is being overly controlling. This can stunt a child's ability to make their own decisions and solve problems independently. Another one is not validating their emotions. Dismissing their feelings can lead to poor emotional regulation as they grow up. Finally, comparing siblings can breed resentment and competition instead of fostering healthy relationships. Forcing their children to join clubs or sports they don't want to do. Telling other people about their children's faults or hanging it over their heads. Not believing their children when they say something is wrong. Embarrassing their children in front of other people. Talk down on a child about a certain skill the child is trying to learn. Taking away something the child uses as an emotional escape as a way to punish the child. Speaking for their kids. Well-intentioned and well-meaning parents will often speak on behalf of their children to facilitate progression, ordering food, answering a question, etc. Instead, teach your child to use their voice. If you need to help translate what your kid is saying, giving your child the encouragement to speak up, communicate their needs, will go a long way in helping to build self-confidence and independence. Fishing for disability support payments. It happened to me with my parents. My mum put her hand out for every little government payment and constantly tried to ham up my alleged issues. ENED2. Apparently 1 in 8 Australian boys under 12 are registered for NDIS. I'm sorry, but that's a ridiculous number, and it sounds like the system is being played by people fishing for a handout IMO. It's the offhand comments. You don't remember saying them, but your child absolutely will. Parents have a habit of making little comments about their kid. Even if they don't know it's about their kid, that will really stick with their child. I still remember so many offhand comments my parents or siblings said that really stuck with me, even if their views changed later in life. Not apologizing because that means you're putting conditions on our love, which should be unconditional. Me out my name. Break my heart and berate me, but it's wrong of me to be hurt by your actions, and because I'm your daughter I just need to move past it and not expect an apology, let alone a discussion. Diminishing their fears. Still to this day at 46, if I make the mistake of telling my mother something I'm concerned about, she shuts the conversation down and tells me it's silly to worry about. Let the kid talk about it. Listen to their concern. Sure, maybe help them talk through some tools to overcome, but do not let them think they are silly for being afraid. Constantly complaining about finances and not being able to afford things. It's okay to not be well off, and it's perfectly fine if you can afford certain things, but don't do it in front of your kids. It makes them paranoid and feel like a burden. They become afraid to ask for things they actually need, and they start obsessing over money. Not apologizing when you fuck up as a parent. Kids need to hear it and know we are still human and learning as well. Apologize to your kids so they model the behavior. If I expect my child to apologize for certain things, I need to be reflecting the same respect. Treating kids differently, And no parent treats every kid 100 the same. But it's important to not engage in a lot of toxic behaviors like she's the baby. Just let her get her way. This is the reason birth orders have different behaviors. Don't speak until spoken to rule ... I've learned that lesson a little too well and struggled to raise my voice when needed. My parents were very strict in forcing it. I sacrifice so much for you, or you owe me your life kind of emotional blackmail. It's very, very harmful, and yet surprisingly common. Indulgence. It's the thing I notice most. Parents not teaching their children that they are not the center of everyone's universe, only yours. Too much drinking and gambling in front of the kids later on, the kids will also follow what they sees on their parents. Trying not to be too involved to give space, or just creating distance between them and their children. Is in the vicinity of a kid of the opposite gender, who is she your girlfriend? Being overly strict. There are studies that strict parents teach kids to hide their mistakes, that fulfilling basic needs and being there physically equals parenting. Because I said so rather than taking the time to explain the whys. I'll say the one a lot of kids hear. Parents having loud sex. Overparenting can be almost as harmful as underparenting.